If everybody just stopped paying their taxes, technically the government wouldn't have the money.
Okay, we have to talk about this. In a way, this makes total sense because of what taxes actually do. Basically, when we talk about taxes, we're talking about money that's paid to the government by normal people in order to actually fund the government. This is because the government is a non-profit entity, which means it has no other way of getting money except from taxpayers. The opposite here would be a for-profit organization. So think of companies like Amazon and Apple. Those two companies are completely funded off of selling goods and services. But the government doesn't work like that, though. Instead, the US government is completely funded off of US taxpayers. Literally everything from what you do to what you own to where you live is completely taxed. For instance, the US government taxes your income that you make at your 9-to-5 job. This is what's known as an income tax, and all the states that are not gray do not have an income tax. Uncle Sam also taxes everything that you buy. All of the green states have some sort of sales tax, which means every time you buy something, the government takes a percentage of that sale. Basically, you're taxed on everything to fund the government. What exactly does the government do with all that money? Basically, the money that you pay in taxes will go towards the community in some way that benefits it. For instance, your taxes will pay for Social Security, they'll pay for the roads, they'll pay for Medicaid. Your taxes will even go towards funding local programs, state programs, and federal programs. Okay, so what exactly happens if you don't pay your taxes? Honestly, it depends on what it is. If you don't pay your property taxes, which is just the taxes on where you live, you'll be hit with a huge lien on your house that will force you to pay a fine when you go to sell your house. Government may even repossess the house if you're that far behind on your tax bill. If you evade paying other taxes, they'll hit you with huge interest payments, they'll ask you to pay more, and you might even get some jail time. Okay, so now here's where it gets complicated. Okay, so if you remember back in middle school, maybe elementary school, you'll remember that the US federal government has three main branches: the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. The US Treasury, which is this building here, is under the executive branch. The US Treasury, in its simplest form possible, is just there to make sure that the finances and economic status of the United States run as smoothly as possible. The US Treasury is also there to protect against any threats to the United States financial system. Okay, I know that was long-winded, but now that you know all that, we can finally answer the question. What would happen if nobody paid their taxes and the US basically ran out of money? And the answer is probably nothing, because that can't really happen. See, the Treasury also has influence over the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve actually prints the money that we use in the United States. And the Federal Reserve can just print as much money as it wants. Basically, if everybody just stopped paying their taxes, the US government wouldn't run out of money. They'd just print more. This would just cause inflation to go up, which we saw over the last year or so when the US government printed trillions of dollars in stimulus, which would hurt you because everything would cost more. And there'd be no funding for your local or state government, which means any roads that need to be fixed, any buildings that need to be fixed, basically any infrastructure is not going to get fixed. But the government would still make you pay your taxes because they'd never run out of money, but you would. Oh yeah, pay your taxes.